Hey everyone, it's Jen Fontanella, your money coach, and I'm committed to helping entrepreneurial minded women take control of their money so they gain clarity, hope, and confidence in order to live out their true passion and purpose. I've been thinking about traveling, and I always have been. And one of the things that made me want to do this video is I've been thinking about the things that people tell me when I work with them about their dreams and goals, and traveling is always one of them. How many times do you see on Facebook, Instagram, and different posts where people want to go here, it's on their bucket list, but they haven't done it? For many people, it hasn't happened yet. And it actually makes me sad. I've actually been very blessed and fortunate that as a young kid, my family was very good about traveling. We used to take family trips all the time. We did a lot of long driving, and even as early as 4, I was able to go to the Philippines. And that was my first international trip. And so, my goal is to help people like, okay, come on, we can do it. And so I would love to see more people experience that. And that is something that even my son, CJ, who's almost 9, that he got the travel bug early on, as early as 3. And I remember his first flight, we landed in New Mexico, and he didn't even want to get off the plane. He wanted to keep flying. And so since then, he's been able to go to New York, Hawaii, Chicago, and I've been able to take him to different places. And he's even gone to Mexico, which was so great because he got to come with me on an orphanage trip. We went to go help the kids out there. And so it's such a great experience, not only just for traveling, for, relaxation purposes, but there's something about how it just fills your soul, especially when you get to help other people, like when we went on this trip. And sometimes it's educational and cultural experiences that just really, really fill my spirit when I go. But whatever the reason is, if there is a bucket list that you've been wanting to do and wanting to go see these certain places, this is going to be the time that you want to start planning for it, because you can't just be like, hey, let's go. I mean, depending on how close or nearby you are to that destination. But it does take some research. So let's dive into some of the things that we need to do. So the first thing I would say is like the research. If you are, one of the things that I've done before is I've created 2 different lists. I made a domestic one, and then I made an international one. So domestic, I would think about national parks or historic landmarks, or, even, different states that I wanted to see. I identified different places within those states that I wanted to go visit. And then I made one for international. What are the different countries that I would like to visit as well? And so then you got to do further research, go on places like Instagram, Pinterest, TripAdvisor, different sites like that. Even AAA has great resources, and even Costco. So those are just a few that I've used personally. And there's tons and tons and tons online. But start taking a look at what are different places that you can see when you go to those particular areas. So I would say do your research and find out like where are the places that you want to visit. And then you want to find out how far is it. So, for example, some of the domestic places, depending on where you live, could be close enough for you to drive. I don't like driving after a certain point. So at some point, I would just rather fly. Like for me, I can't stand driving to Vegas. I rather just take a 45-minute flight from Long Beach. Super easy. But some people love it. So it depends on what you want to do. It depends on what's in your budget. It depends on how you want to travel to that destination. It also depends on how many people you're taking with you. Many times I'm rolling solo, so it's a lot easier for me to fly sometimes, but I get it. If you're bringing an entire family, that's a whole different situation. But the reason why I want you to plan out how far things are, because if there's certain cities or places that are along the way, especially if you're driving, you can hit up those different places. So you're not going back and forth, and you can be more strategic about planning this trip, especially if it's a road trip. So that's one of the reasons why it's important to kind of see like, okay, is there certain cities along the way to the final destination? And then I did this actually in 2008 on a motorcycle trip. Yes, I'm actually licensed to ride a motorcycle. And I was actually going to Colorado for a conference, started in Orange County, and went through Phoenix, Tucson, all the way to Colorado, but on the way back went to Utah, to Vegas, and then back to Orange County, California. So that's an example where you can kind of do a round trip and hit up different spots. So you want to be strategic, because this is about like, maximizing your time and maximizing your money. And if you're already out that way, why not do it, right? Other things you want to research is, is it best to stay at a hotel? Or maybe it's better to stay at an Airbnb. Sometimes one is more economic than the other. So you have to do your research and see how much lodging and accommodations is going to be. You also, places like, or sites I should say, like Expedia, Travelocity, those types of places sometimes have really good bundle deals. So you kind of have to do the numbers. I'm really nerdy about this stuff. I will create a spreadsheet to see what the best deal is in terms of creating different combinations of things. So, you know, however way you want to do that, it's just really good because if you know the numbers that you're working with, it'll help you plan like how much you need to save. And then you want to, so speaking of saving, so when you have these numbers, then you have an idea of like, it's going to cost X amount to do this trip. And sometimes it could be a weekend getaway. It doesn't have to be like this long, you know, 7-day, 10-day trip to another island. And it can be, but what I'm saying, like, find the thing that's going to work for you that you can save towards, and then you want to reverse engineer it. So if you have an idea of how much money it's going to cost, think about the date in the future that you can do it, but then also figure out like how much can we save a month so by the time we get to that trip date, we have the money for it. And so, you know, you have to have an idea of what you need to save up for. And so alongside with saving up for it, you also need to block out that time. So this is a time to use up that vacation time that you haven't used up at work. Of course, if you're self-employed, that's a whole different situation, but it's no different because just the same way that you block out time to go to conferences and attend that, it's no different. You're just doing this as a trip. Without the conference. Sometimes I've been able to do both where I'm combining it because I'm already out there that way. So why not make it a trip? So, you know, so that's just something I want you to think about. If traveling is something on your bucket list, think about something that maybe you just want to do a quick affordable getaway for like 2 days, 3 days. That's not so far. And then maybe you have another goal where it's farther. Maybe you've been wanting to go to Hawaii, you've never been, or maybe you want to go to the Bahamas if you've never been, or maybe you want to take that cruise that you've never been on. So you can't plan for it, or you can't ever attain to go if you've never planned for it. So start doing your research, and this is where I encourage you, just dream. Allow yourself to dream because that's how you get the wheels moving and turning because you are now putting it in motion. You're putting it on paper that, you know, this is where I want to go. These are the places I want to see. And finally make that happen. Let that be a gift to you this year or whenever that you have that goal. But I know there's so many of you out there that want to travel and just haven't given yourself that opportunity. But find a way to make that happen. Find a way to start saving for that little by little so that you can have that trip finally. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. I would love to see you drop in the comments some of the places that you love to visit. I'd love to see if I've been there. So thank you so much. Make sure you like the video and comment below, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much and happy traveling.